All right, so welcome to the third lesson in Python. We're going to learn about a couple of things here. Most importantly, the modules and packages, right? So have you used one before? So yeah, notice we have done an import here, right? So that's basically, notice it says module logging, right? So we're going to create our own now. So let's go ahead and do that, right? So let's say uh, our 1.py already had this function, right? But what we did was we just copied it over here. So instead, what we could do is we can say import, or right, rather we can say from one import new line, right? And we can actually import any of the functions that we have defined. And if we run the 2.py now, notice it continues to run, right? Quite interesting, isn't it? But we're not going to do this. We're going to do this in a more sort of a standard way, right? So we're going to create our own sort of a module and a package. So for that, we're going to create a folder, and I'm going to call it utils, right? And within that, I'm going to create a file called, let's say, job utils, right? .py. And within that, let's go ahead and add this function. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this new line function from here as well as from here, right? And then copy over it to here, right? Now, if we run 1.py or 2.py, notice we're going to get an error. That's fine. We're going to fix it soon. So we have this job utils py here. Now, what we can do is we can make this into a package by creating an underscore init underscore dot py file, and what we are doing here is I'm going to say uh, from dot job utils import new line, right? Now let's go ahead and do this here. So I'm going to say import, or rather from, sorry. So let's go ahead and do that quickly here. I'm going to say from utils, right? So you have utils import uh, new line, right? And then I'm going to do that also in 2.py, right? So now let's see what happens. So Python 2.py runs, 1.py runs as well. So basically what we're doing here is this is a job utils module, which has this function. This utils is a package. The package is made into a package by this underscore init.py file. What we've done is we've brought up the new line function from within this particular module at the top of the package, so that in 1.py we could import it, and also in 2.py we could import it and use it. So that's the very high level sort of a concept of module and packages, right? Definitely something you should know. We're going to use this a lot. Okay, so we looked at modules and packages. We also used the custom module and the package that we created. Now, next up, let's understand how to actually install third-party modules, how to do the project setup in general. And there are two ways to do it. One is using pip, um, or pip, and then other one is using UV. UV is kind of getting more popular, much easier to do now. We're going to show you both, right? And then you can choose the one that you want. You can also that way understand when different projects are using different package management and project setups, right? So let's go ahead and try to understand. Okay, so let's say I want to have like a pytz or package, right? Package, right? And I'm going to say example. So notice here we have an example here. Okay, so let's copy this. In fact, again, I'm logged in here. Let's go ahead and actually create a few directories. Okay, I can create it from here, right? Or I can actually go and do it from the terminal. If you have taken this course, and I absolutely recommend it that you do, you would know those commands, right? So yeah, you can create it from here, or you create it from the terminal. I'm going to use terminal, so I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to say mkdir pip setup, right? And then mkdir uv setup. You have to use only one of them, right? And then what I'm gonna do, come back here, right? You could have created from here also, but yeah. So, and here I'm gonna go ahead and create maybe test.py, and whatever code is here. Let's copy and paste it. Okay, here. And now let's try to run it and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to do Control J, right? Clear here and go back to our pip setup. And now if I run, right, and say test.py, notice I get an error. It says, there is no module, no package, right? So let's go ahead and install that, right? Now, generally, we can just say pip install and pytz, and that would work, but it's going to install it for the entire sort of a machine in this case, which is what something we don't want. So instead, what we do is we go ahead and create a requirements.txt file, right? And then we can cat that file. In fact, let's add something here, right? So we're going to say pytz, okay? And we're going to say, and so this module basically, if you see this code that was generated by AI, it basically shows how to, like you can convert different times, right? So India time is this, right? And so on, right? It kind of wraps the standard date time of Python. Very useful sort of a module, right? All right, so let's keep going, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Python or Python 3, depending upon what you have installed. In fact, here Python should be fine on the shell, right? And I'm going to say -m dot -mvenv, and I'm going to say .venv. So what I'm basically doing is I'm creating a new virtual environment within which I can install my packages. Okay, it's a very standard way of doing things. Okay, you don't really need to understand what's really happening behind, but basically this is the way to go. So this is basically creating an isolated environment to run. And then what I'm doing is I'm running basically. So what I'm doing is I can actually use a command called source and then do this, or I can just go ahead and say dot space venv bin and activate, right? So now notice here it says we are in this environment, right? Which Python now, like Python, notice that it says the Python is coming from this local package or local folder, right? As opposed to the Python, which if you go back to the terminal and if you say which Python, right, notice that it is the actually Python coming from the installation of Python on this virtual machine that is running this Cloud Shell. Okay, so coming back, so we have this environment and now we're going to say pip install -r requirements.txt. So this is going to install the pytz package, right? And then what we can do is clear this. Again, one of the commands that we learned here was clear, right? So very highly recommended to take this about 1 hour or so course, right? So let's go ahead and now run the Python and test.py, and notice now it actually prints it, right? So basically, although to be honest, this is wrong. It's printing probably the next day for some reason. But anyways, you get the point. Like that was not the point. The point was to understand basically that, if you need external packages, right, this is the way, and then to install them, and this is how to install them and use them, right? Anyways, so let's clear that, and now let's test the next way. What I'm going to do is copy this test.py and then paste it into the UV setup, and we'll notice how simple UV is compared to pip, right? But I'm going to go ahead and deactivate, right? Deactivate, which notice that now if I do which Python, I'm back to the Python on the instance, right? So we are good here. So I'm going to go back again. If you don't know these commands, right, cd space dot dot and things like that, go ahead and take this course. It's very, very essential for you, right? It's generally essential to know shell commands and shell scripting in general. Okay, uh, anywhere you work. Okay, so I'll go to the cduv setup, right? And then here I'm gonna say uv init, right, to init the project. Okay, and then notice it creates a few files here. Okay, and it actually created a main.py, but we already had a test.py, so that's fine. Let it be there, right? So what we can do is now we can say uv uh, run and then test.py. We'll probably get the same error. Now what we can do is uv add, right? Uv add and say pytz, and notice that it is added. Let's clear again, and now let's run the uv run test.py. Notice it runs. Okay, and notice we didn't have to create an environment. We didn't really have to sort of you know do anything here, right? It just ran. Again, these concepts can be extended further, and you can keep delving deeper into it, but the goal is to get to the other courses, right? And just to know enough so that you become aware of what is going on, because more often than not, large chunk of code will be generated by or is already being generated by AI. So being able to understand the overall system is the goal of these courses, these essential one courses, right? This Okay, so we learned how to do it. So basically, if there are external packages and modules that we need, there are two ways to do it. One is with pip, another one is with UV. You can choose whichever one. The reason why I taught both of them, because certain projects continue to use pip, and other projects have already started using UV. Okay, so just be aware of that.